For the playful, there are LEGO games. For the adrenaline junkies, Call of Duty. For the story hungry, Firewatch. Then there are the masochists among us. This list will focus primarily on horror characters and moments in games we didn't see coming. I'm Jess from WhatCulture. Here are 10 terrifying video game horrors nobody saw coming. Number 10, Asphyxia, Silent Hill Homecoming. While series favorites Nemesis from Resident Evil 3 and Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2 often take the prize for most horrific antagonists in survival horror games, both were revealed before the release of their respective games, either by appearing on the box art or revealed in teaser playthroughs. One grotesque nasty that took players by surprise was human caterpillar wannabe Asphyxia from Silent Hill Homecoming. Created out of the memories of Margaret Holloway, Asphyxia represents Nora Holloway, whom Margaret suffocated as a human sacrifice. As with most Silent Hill monsters, their physical manifestation is often linked with the manner of a person's death. The many hands clawing at the monster's body and face represent this suffocation in an all-too-literal way, while the caterpillar-like body comes from Nora's obsession with Alice in Wonderland. Even the lack of eyes is symbolic of how she was murdered in darkness while she slept. The hideous nature of this monstrosity doesn't end there, with protagonist Alex killing it by wrenching the hands from its mouth, forcing it to breathe, the absence of which killed Nora to begin with. Lovely nightmare fuel there, Konami. Number 9, High Lord WOLNIR, Dark Souls 3. There are a multitude of enemies that could have made this list, from Demon Souls, Dark Souls, or Bloodborne. As this list is dedicated to horrors that lurk in unexpected places, the High Lord WOLNIR beats similar terrors such as the Brain of Mensis and the Nasty Mimics to this entry. There are far scarier monsters than Skeleton Kings. However, when your hero is creeping through the pitch-black catacombs of Carthus, stumbling across this colossal collective of giant bones is enough for your heart to jump into your mouth. Nope, back the way I came. Number 8, Sovereign, Mass Effect. For 75% of the game, Spectre traitor Saren Arterius is the main antagonist. With his skyscraper-sized ship and army of Geth in tow, Saren scours the Milky Way searching for the mysterious conduit. Shepard and the crew pursue him, always one step behind, understanding Saren's true purpose. Then, after tracking Saren to Vermeer, the unexpected happens. Saren's ship, known as Sovereign, opens communication with Shepard. It soon becomes apparent that Saren is just a pawn for Sovereign, one of many Reapers. The conduit is a hidden mass relay that will allow an army of similarly massive Reapers to instantly travel to the Milky Way from their slumber in deep space, with the sole intention of wiping out all sentient life. What makes this encounter truly terrifying is Sovereign's total indifference to Shepard's heroic protests. He barely takes the time to explain what Reapers are, not believing Shepard capable or worthy of understanding, and his total confidence at the destruction of all sentient life, as evidenced by the many times they've done it before, is utterly overwhelming. Number 7, The Baker Family, Resident Evil 7. For a while there, it certainly looked like Resident Evil was moving away from survival horror and towards an action shooter. In place of tense atmosphere and fear were hordes of increasingly grotesque enemies. Ready to change all that though was the Baker family. Borrowing inspiration from run-and-hide survival horrors like Alien Isolation and Outlast, Resident Evil 7 depicts an anti-Chris Redfield trapped inside a dilapidated mansion with a family determined to stalk you and prevent your escape. Patriarch Jack relies on brute strength, slowly stalking you but bursting through walls when you least expect it, while Matriarch Marguerite possesses some kind of kinship with killer bugs. The younger Lucas is a whole other thing entirely. Jack, Marguerite, and the younger Lucas are all infected with something that gives them remarkable healing abilities. Of course, more terrifying than all these is the old woman that sits silently and unmoving in her chair. She might not have said anything yet, but she keeps showing up in unusual places, often in tight corridors where you have to squeeze past. She hasn't jumped yet, but we know it's all coming. Number 6, NOONTECH Diagnostic Machine, Dead Space 2. Designed to extract information from the brain via a needle through the eye, the NOONTECH diagnostic machine was originally used to extract information necessary to build Marker 12, After Isaac's eyelids are held back and the needle begins to descend, Isaac needs to keep his heart rate down and remain calm, while the foot-long needle descends directly towards his eyeball. The happy result is Isaac keeps his eye nice and still and the needle gently glides inside, accessing the memories he needs with the needle retracting safely. Unfortunately, many of us felt our stomachs turn as we witnessed the unhappy result. If Isaac's heart rate rises too high, he begins moving his eye frantically. The ensuing panic causes the machine to malfunction, which proceeds to plummet the needle deep into Isaac's eye with all the force of a gut punch. Reload from most recent checkpoint. Number 5. The Flood. Halo Combat Evolved. As Master Chief battles the Covenant across the Halo's surface, he picks up hints of an underground control center where he can find weapons that will turn the tide of the battle. However, on following Captain Keyes into the bowels of the space station, Master Chief learns they have unwittingly released a parasite known to wipe out entire civilizations, known as the Flood. Suddenly, a game we thought was about defending our fellow troops from an enemy alien race becomes a battle for survival against a parasite that crawls across floors like spiders, jumps at our heads like facehuggers, and reanimates the mutilated corpses of our fallen friends into grotesque zombies with superhuman strength. Fortunately, Master Chief was able to get his revenge by taking out the Flood before it could escape. It just required the small task of blowing up the entire planet, resulting in one of the most epic game endings as we navigated our warthog across the exploding space station. Number 4. The Eye, Sunless Sea. Like Mass Effect's Reapers, Sunless Sea is heavily inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's concept of the Old Ones, being so enormous and ancient that humans are to them as ants are to us. One look upon these immense monstrosities is enough to drive a person mad. Victorian London has transported to the edge of the Untersee, an immense ocean full of monsters, bandits, and ruinous secrets. The very nature of the game is for the ship's captain to achieve their goals of fame or fortune by exploring the mysteries of the Untersee. Unfortunately, everything in this murky green ocean either wants to kill you or drives you insane. In the south of the sea, an enormous eye beneath the waves opens, staring intensely at the ship. The monster is never fully revealed or explained, but it's a clear sign of an ancient being or immense power lurking beneath the ocean. Whether you chose to sail towards the eye risking permanent insanity, or whether you turned tail and sailed away as fast as you could, you're unlikely to make it home with all your marbles intact. Number 3. David, The Last of Us. The Last of Us had its fair share of horrific moments, yet amongst all the heartache of lost friends and tragic messages left behind for lost family members, the biggest horror of the game is arguably the very human, very charming David, leader of a small community that survives winters by eating ill-fated travelers that pass through their town. What makes David particularly terrifying is the gradual reveal of his true nature. Initially friendly and welcoming, Ellie's abduction and Joel's meddling reveal his inner beast, culminating in a terrifying game of cat and mouse as David and Ellie compete to hunt and gut the other. To those gamers that play this game on survival difficulty without listening mode, I can only salute you. The horror of this event reaches its crescendo with Joel unable to reach Ellie in time, forcing Ellie to kill David herself. All of her fear and anger come gushing out as she repeatedly stabs David again and again. As Joel forces her away, he and the player know that the sweet innocence we all loved about Ellie has just been murdered along with David, and she'll never be the same again. Number 2. Family Matters, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Geralt's search of Ciri sees him encounter all manner of nasties, be it the witches of the wood and their penchant for human ears, caves infested with giant jumping spiders, or paintings haunted by an imprisoned wife-turned-wraith. The tale that takes the prize for brutality and horror in The Witcher 3, which is like choosing who your least favourite child is Family Matters. Having traced Ciri to the Bloody Baron of Velen, Geralt learns of the Bloody Baron's abusive drunken history with his pregnant wife. Having beaten her so badly one night, she miscarried and the Baron quickly buried the dead fetus. On learning the truth, Geralt warns the Baron that the baby will likely transform into a hideous botchling, a rotten zombified monster that will seek out the family that failed it, so it can use its multiple layers of sharp teeth to rip their heads off. Whether the player chooses to kill the botchling or help the Baron transform it into a Lubikin so that the family might find peace, it is the brutal tragedy of the quest that horrified players. And despite the terrible nature of the Witcher world and its inhabitants, this mission still managed to shock players around the world. Number 1. The Groom. Outlast Whistleblower. Whistleblower sandwiches the main plot of Outlast, with the player taking on the role of Waylon Park, the employee that sends the anonymous note to doomed main game journalist Miles Upshur. After being discovered, Waylon, having been subjected to hypnotism and experimentation, escapes his cell and seeks a way out. Enter Eddie Gluskin, aka the Groom. Poor Eddie is desperately seeking his perfect bride, but faces a couple of issues. Firstly, he has the rather odd tendency to see men as women, choosing to brutally mutilate their chests and genitalia until they somewhat resemble the female of the species. Secondly, and this is partly down to his surgical prowess, but also his inner psychopath, he has a habit of killing his brides. What makes this character so terrifying isn't only his blatant insanity, but after finding us hidden in a locker, which the game cruelly places strategically, knowing we will think it's our only escape, the Groom drags the locker to his surgery table where we witness his surgery firsthand. It's only due to outside interruptions that, when it comes to our turn to be strapped to the table, we manage to escape with the family jewels intact, leading to the creepiest and nakedest game of cat and mouse in gaming history. And that's our list. Do let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other terrifying video game horrors you didn't see coming. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. You can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald if you like, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great content.